Hello, Barendipitous here with another video about my art journey, and yeah, I made another comic. This time not about Brawlhalla, but about cosmic horror, Lovecraft, and all that kind of stuff. Before I get into that, though, I wanted to kind of briefly mention that the dates are actually one day off for these illustrations that I made. I got the date wrong by one, so March 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th. And I'll work on Nash later. I have some notes for that. But so for the past 4 days, from the 26th of March to the 30th of March, which is the day I'm recording this, I was working on this. I've had an idea about Lovecraftian horror and the Cthulhu mythos. I've had this idea for a long time, probably about a decade or so. And I finally, like this, it was such like I never thought the idea was very fit for a very long story, and I finally figured out a way to depict it in comic form. So here we go. I ripped some pages from this sketchbook over here and folded them in half and stapled them. Now I have this 10-page thing. So let me show this off to you, and I'll give some more comments about making this. So here we go. When we awoke to humanity's insignificance, so did they. Oops. The great old ones perceived us as the cosmic microbes we are, and we perceived oblivion. In the wake of our near extinction, we stared intently into the void, hoping against hope that in the midst of the Cthulhus and the Yugoths and the Yigs, there was an origin point, and we found it. Our satellites showed us a man on a moon at the epicenter of our doom. I have come to meet him, to answer the question, who is this wretched figure, this despicable devil who dictated the doom of our universe? I confronted our apparent nemesis, and with a look of despondent resignation, he answered. I was old when the pharaohs first mounted the jewel-decked throne by the Nile. I was old in those epochs uncounted, when I and only I was vile, and man yet untainted and happy dwelt in bliss on the far Arctic isle. Oh, great is the sin of my spirit, and great is the reach of its doom. Not the pity of heaven can cheer it, nor can respite be found in the tomb. Down the infinite eons come beating the wings of unmerciful gloom. Through the ghoul-guarded gateways of slumber, past the wan-mooned abysses of night, I have lived o'er my lives without number. I have sounded all things with my sight. And I struggle and shriek ere the daybreak, being driven to madness with fright. That's the end of the story, and I wrote a sort of little epilogue here. I kind of titled it Howard Be Thy Doom. Working title, maybe, whatever. But a one-shot comic that I worked on from the 26th to the 30th, at least the actual drawing of this. This comic was inspired by an idea I've had for about a decade. I imagined H.P. Lovecraft trapped after death in a universe filled with the creatures from the mythos of his namesake. A universe filled with fear and meaninglessness of his own make. In the process of creating this comic, I discovered Lovecraft's Nemesis poem and used its final 3 stanzas as a way to explain the dilemma this afterlife Lovecraft finds himself in. Just an idea that didn't seem big enough for anything but a little one-shot like this. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for reading. P.S. Making small fun stuff like this helps me improve in art and creation. Here's to the next fun thing. So, yeah. I just like with the Val comic, I wrote out the script. I planned it out panel by panel. I might color in the spaces between these, or I might leave them as is. I'm not sure. But after sketching things in with pencil, everything you see drawn is with this pen right here. It's almost out of ink actually. It's getting pretty close. But it's literally just this pen, just a very simple Bic pen right here. I was a lot more intentional with the way I was shading things and drawing things. Used reference liberally, of course. which really helped a lot. Here I got Cthulhu, Hastur, the King in Yellow, as well as this is meant to depict Nyarlathotep, like some of the big three sort of entities. Also, the way I was shading as well. Generally, anything that's like space or void, I was trying to do this sort of cross hatching thing where I drew all the lines one way diagonally and then all the lines another way diagonally. Which meant that anything else dark needed to be shaded in a different way, or I needed to emphasize the lines. And so, especially with like rounded like limbs like this, like Cthulhu's wings, I very much just did a lot of like rounded lines here to help with that. Worked on shading on this. Of course, you see the buildings down here. I lightened up the shading here so you could see this my depiction of a yellow sign right there. I was just kind of making up a bunch of monsters that seemed to work. Just things that just looked, I was trying to show various monsters terrifying, Earth until you see Earth exploding, essentially. Also trying to make any other planets or bodies out in space. I wanted to make them look unsettling, or it's just like strange and weird. Now, I am especially proud of how I was able to depict Lovecraft. When I was putting the idea of this comic together, I had a very specific image of Lovecraft in mind that I wanted to try to imitate. If you Google the phrase Lovecraft artistic portrait, and search that in Google Images, you will probably see the kind of reference that I used. Specifically, I first focused on these two faces here. I tried to make them as close to each other as possible. I know there's some inconsistencies there, but you get the idea. And looking for all the things that were shaded. And then I took all of that I learned there and basically shaded every other face in a very similar way. I also used looking at my own like mouth and lips to try to depict more realistic lips. Could do better, of course, but I'm incredibly proud of how this turned out, honestly. I did not think it would look this good, I'll be honest, and I think all of the ink shading lends itself very well to the kind of story that I was trying to make here. But yeah, basically the idea I've had for over a decade is just that there's a universe that has all these Cthulhu entities, and humanity. What survives of humanity tries to find whatever is at the center and the creation point, the origin point of all these, and it turns out to be Lovecraft himself. Now, of course, in reality, Lovecraft did not create everything in the Cthulhu mythos. I think even the Cthulhu mythos or Lovecraftian horror weren't necessarily coined by him either, but rather by some of his contemporaries. But he's sort of seen as the origin point of that kind of cosmic horror genre, or Cthulhu mythos at the very least. And so I thought that's sort of the idea I had. He's just sort of standing here, surrounded by fear and torment in this fictional universe. Anyway, I am incredibly proud of this. Like I enjoyed the previous one, the modern Monomi one, but I tried to choose some better paper and was a lot more intentional and deliberate in the way I planned and inked all of this. Probably not necessarily something you'd that I could submit in like a big like manga contest or anything, but I'm pretty darn proud of this. Like this is like wow. I spent hours on this, and I'm very, very happy with the result. And I think it's honestly, I've just been having a lot of fun with ink in general, just normal pen ink and the things I can do with it. I don't know when the next time is that I will maybe be making another one-shot comic. Just it's kind of like many things I create. When I have an idea and I have the means and the desire and the time to make it, then I will make it. But otherwise, I'll just kind of keep drawing when I want to. Essentially, I don't have a plan for another comic, but I just wanted to kind of show this off specifically, just because of I just kind of can't believe I drew this. Kind of can't believe I made this. I like this a lot. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, all the best.